Hi guys, Peak Design just announced their Pro series of tripods. We have the Pro Light, the Pro, and the Pro Tall. And I just did a video talking about the differences between these three tripods and an overall review. But I thought today we would compare my favorite tripod that I am currently using, the Falcam TreeRoot travel tripod, with the most likely candidate against this guy, which would be the Pro Light tripod. It is the closest one in terms of price and specs, so let's get into it. So first of all, I should say that both of these tripods are absolutely excellent. If you own either of these two tripods, I am sure you are going to be very happy. But I will talk about the differences between the two tripods, and there certainly are some, especially when it comes to price. You are going to see that the Falcam TreeRoot is considerably cheaper than the Peak Design. When fully collapsed, the Falcam is about an inch shorter and definitely has less girth and bulk around the center when you are grabbing it. This is an easier tripod to grab and go, but this one is still quite compact. In terms of weight, the Falcam comes in a little bit lighter at 1.5 kilograms or 3.3 pounds, whereas the Peak Design is 1.7 kilograms or 3.75 pounds. However, in terms of height, the Peak Design has the edge here, 162.5 centimeters or 64 inches versus 154 centimeters. Both tripods can handle a significant amount of weight, but they do talk about it differently. The Falcam, they mentioned the legs alone can hold 40 kilograms, and that's a ton. That's 88 pounds, and that is just for the legs, though, without the ball head. Peak Design doesn't mention how much the legs themselves can hold. They really only give you one spec, which is that the ball head, they say, can hold 35 pounds or 16 kilograms. Falcam says the ball head, when fully recessed into the legs, can hold 20 kilograms or 44 pounds, but when you have the center column extended, that goes down to 10 kilograms or 22 pounds. And if you're shooting in vertical orientation, now it goes down to 5 kilograms, which is still 11 pounds, plenty for a lot of people with cameras and lenses if you are shooting in the vertical position. But overall, I would say that you're going to get a heavier setup with the Peak Design just because this ball head is bigger and thicker, and so if you're going to be doing a lot of vertical video with gear that is over 11 pounds, the Peak Design is the way to go. Both tripods are extremely solid and sturdy, even with their center columns fully extended, because the center columns are very thick, triangular shape, and when you clamp down, it is just a really tight fit, and no shakes, no worries at all with these two tripods. Peak Design did a great job making this much more solid and sturdy than their travel tripod. Now, this was designed to be lightweight and travel friendly, but there is a lot of flex in these legs, and if it was a really windy day, I wouldn't really want to use a tripod like this. I certainly don't like extending the center column on this guy because it is very, very thin, and it creates even more shake when that is fully extended. Not so with these Pro tripods, including this light one, because while it's called light, it's the light version of Peak Design's very heavy-duty tripods. There's a little less flex on the TreeRoot when you are pushing in on the legs because they do have circular columns for the bottom three segments, and they are twist locks, so generally the weight is distributed a little more evenly throughout the legs, but it's not to say that this Peak Design is not very solid. It certainly is. There's just more flex if you were pushing in on the side, which you should probably not do. Now, both tripods have a pretty rapid leg deployment. Peak Design, very nice flip locks here, and the legs come out nice and smooth, and this is a pre-production model. Apparently it's going to come out even smoother on the full production model, but I already love this. It feels really premium, really nice to use these leg flip locks. However, I have to say that I have fallen in love with the TreeRoot method, which is just, it's a quarter of a turn. No, it's a third of a turn is what they say. A third of a turn, it's patented. And then you just twist them, and then they all just come out, twist it back this way. You see how fast that is? Oh my goodness, I absolutely love that. I was always a flip lock guy, but then this converted me to twist locks. And another point for the twist locks is if you're wearing gloves, say you live in Canada and it's freezing most of the time, you can just wrap your hand around it, pull it out that way, and then you don't have to look for individual flip locks. There is plenty of room here, but you still will have to use your fingers. The two ball heads feature a quick release system, but there is a big difference between the plates that the two tripods can take. I'll get to that in a second, but first I will mention that Peak Design has really done a better job with their ball head on these Pro tripods compared to their travel tripod. In order to move the ball head at all on the travel tripod, you had to raise the center column and then you could loosen it and move it. Whereas with the head fully recessed into the legs, you can still rotate it somewhat, about 15 degrees, I believe they said. And if you want full rotation, you can just raise the center column and now you can go all the way around. It doesn't have those three little teeth that the travel tripod had. And of course, you can go into vertical position and now rotate 360 degrees. So that is a much better system than the travel tripod. With the Falcam, you unlock this lever here, and now you can rotate it around. And like the Peak Design, if you raise it up a little bit, you will now have full rotation of your ball head. And once again, there is a vertical position. You can go all the way around, and you can lock that down. So that is really great. And both have separate panning buttons here, which is necessary, I think, in today's modern world. Who doesn't want to take a panorama? So you can pan independently on both tripods. Now, the Peak Design, the travel tripod, you couldn't pan independently, and that is too bad. So I am really glad to see that in this ball head. In fact, the TreeRoot, the light version of the TreeRoot that I have featured in other videos, that also cannot pan independently. So if you want to be able to pan independently on Falcam or Peak Design, you need one of these tripods or the other two Pro tripods that are even more expensive. Peak Design's ball head does have an extra button that is a lock. So if you lock that, even if you release your plate, your camera is not going to come off. Falcam does not have that extra lock, but the Falcam does have a little tension knob adjustment. So if you want to make it either easy to move your ball head around or you want to make it stiff for little tiny movements, you can adjust this little tension knob, and that's kind of cool. So now let's talk about the differences between that quick release system. The Falcam, they say, can take up to 90% of Arca Swiss compatible plates. So you just put it in there, snap it closed, and this is the F38 plate that it comes with by Falcam, and it just snaps in no problem. In fact, let's grab a Peak Design plate, and then we can put that here and then snap it in, and same thing. And no matter what you want to put in there, you have a small rig cage, you put that in, snaps in, no problem. Been very reliable. I've been using this for over a year, and it's been great. With Peak Design, you have this little spring-loaded mechanism, very responsive, and you can tighten it over a little bit for extra security if you need it, and that is how that works. Just stick in a Peak Design plate and click it, and you are done. And it works great when you are using Peak Design plates or things that are a little bit bigger. But if you have other third-party plates that are small or shaped a little oddly, then it doesn't necessarily jive with this Peak Design. Here's the F38 plate, and it clicks in, but here's the thing, it's still, I can't tighten it enough to keep it from moving around. And there's a lot of play there, and I can't get it any tighter because it doesn't go any further. And that is too bad. Now, something that annoys me a little bit about the Peak Design plate is that you must fasten it to your camera using a hex key. That is the only way to do it. Now, luckily, Peak Design will be including the hex key in the center column under the hook. That's great, but I would like to see a slot there as well. Like if you take a look at, where is my little F38 plate? If you take a look at the F38 plate, it has a spot for a hex key as well as a little slot for a straight edge. So if you have a coin, you can just put this onto your camera, no worries there. And the actual hook itself has a flat edge on it, designed to be able to be used with that slot. It also has a little tiny hex key on the thing. I don't know if you can see that there in the camera, but there is a little slot that fits into the hex key hole as well as the straight edge right there in the hook. I think that is pretty clever. If you want to get low to the ground shots, you can invert the columns and then have your camera facing down and then flip that image in post. But if you want to keep it right side up, then the Falcam TreeRoot is definitely going to win this battle right here because it has a quick mechanism here for taking off the center column. And now you can splay these legs. I like that word, splay these legs, and you go really close to the ground and you can take your shot. And then without tools, put this right back and then you are good to go. With the Peak design, you can take apart the center column, but it is not that easy. You have to take the ball head and put it down into that vertical position, and then there is a little tiny hole. You can stick in a hex key and then take this apart, but that is a bit cumbersome, so I don't see myself doing that. I'll probably just go for the inverted method. Now you can get separate spike feet for the Peak Design Pro Light tripod, and you use your hex key to take off the rubber feet and put on those spikes. The Falcam, they have the spikes integrated under these rubber feet. It is really hard to take them off if you don't know where you need to press. I've never had any trouble with TSA or taking this thing on a flight. It's hard to know there is spikes under there. However, those spikes are under there and you cannot detach them. So if that is a worry, then the Peak Design is better for you. Now let's get to pricing. And even though this is the cheapest Peak Design Pro tripod, this is still substantially more expensive than the Falcam TreeRoot. This is $799 USD, at least that's the estimated price. I don't have confirmation yet. $799 USD, whereas the Falcam, the full retail price is $499 USD, but you can actually get it right now for $399 USD. In fact, the Falcam TreeRoot is $200 cheaper than their carbon fiber travel tripod from 2019. And of course, if I can find any coupon codes for these tripods, I will link them down below. So obviously this is a much less expensive tripod, but still very sturdy, very usable. You can use more plates in its quick release system. It has the center column that breaks apart, but this one over here does go taller at 64 inches. It can take more weight on the ball head. Warranty and customer service behind it. Falcam says it does give you a 6-year warranty, but everybody knows that Peak Design, if there's anything that ever goes wrong with it, they will jump at the chance to help you fix it. Their customer service is second to none. Of course, I can't tell you which tripod you'll definitively prefer because I don't know you. I will say for me, I've been using the TreeRoot for over a year and completely love this tripod. It just takes all the plates. You can get it for about $399 right now, and that is the best value going, I think, in the tripod world for the quality you get and the price. The Peak Design is much more expensive, and I also only have it as a loaner unit, and it is pre-production, so I can't tell you what it would be like to use that tripod for a year. I can tell you what it's like to use this for over a year, and it's been great. I do have friends that swear by Peak Design, and they will buy nothing else. Personally, I use F38 for everything, and this is where I would spend my money. So let me know down below which of these two tripods you would be most interested in. If neither of these tripods, why don't you go ahead and name the tripod that you'd be interested in, and I'll see if I can get it and review it for your gorgeous faces. Thanks for watching this. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.